Mr. Speaker, speaking of consequences, what about the notion of coming up with some sort of continuing appropriation or whatever to protect against those who are being hurt by the services that are being...
The best way to protect the people that are being hurt by the cuts in service is to pass the budget. I believe it's an obligation that we have as legislators. It's our responsibility to exercise that obligation, and anything short of it is a cop-out.
Given the length of this budget deadline and the possibility of residual hard feelings, is it possible to do the big stuff that the governor and other people...
Yeah, because...
Can you still do health? Can you still do rehab?
Yeah, I mean, let me tell you, I mean, some people around here think that, this is, we're going to be going through some post-mortem depression here in the building after this. It's not the case. I think we have to be adult enough not to take this stuff personal. We have to be adult enough that, if we ever see the light at the end of the tunnel on this budget impasse, that, with respect to important issues to the voters of California, like health care reform, those are things we've got to continue to tackle. And knock on wood, simple majority vote bill, ABA. Want to get it to the governor's desk.
If we could go to CEQA again for a moment. There was discussion on the Senate side that what appeared to be this close to agreement was that the Democrats were willing to concede a window until the Air Board passed the regulations, but not until the regulations took effect, which was going to be another couple years. Is that something you guys could have lived with? Was that along the lines of...
Well, coulda, shoulda, is in the past. I think where we are right now is, we're back to zero.
Right, but was that part of the discussion?
I wasn't part, to be clear, I was not part of any discussion that may have taken place in the Senate. That's a question perhaps appropriately put before Senator Prada and not myself. I was not part of any discussion with Senator Ackerman on that, on any deal in the Senate to pass the budget.
I thought you said Senator Ackerman called you to...
He called me. I don't know whether I told you that I never called him back or not, but yeah, he called me to tell me what he
Mr. Speaker, you mentioned your frustration with the two-thirds vote requirement to pass the budget for tax increases. You said you do what you could to overcome that at some point in the future. There's a constitution also requires about the budget to be passed on a year-to-year basis. So it seems to me, it sounds to me like you're frustrated with the constitutional restrictions on what you can and can't do, and you're labeling the opposition party as hostage takers because you don't like the way the system works.
Well, I think my problem is with both of those things. You mentioned our constitutional obligation to have a balanced budget. Every year we're obligated to have a balanced budget. The budget that we passed in the Assembly 2.5 weeks ago was a balanced budget. It was a balanced budget. There's no requirement in the Constitution that says that you have to pass this year's budget, and at the same time you have to make sure that you secure next year's budget and the budget after the year, the following year, and the budget the year after that. No, there's no requirement in the budget that says that. And whenever you're looking at an operating deficit is not about the budget for that budget year. Operating deficit is a reflection of future budgets. Our constitutional obligation is to the budget for the year 07-08, and in the 07-08, our budget had a reserve of over $3.6 billion. So, debate is not with the budget for this year. Debate's with the budget for the future. And an ideological perspective that it doesn't matter whether schools get paid, it doesn't matter whether people get the health care that they need, it doesn't matter whether the disabled get the services that they rely upon, or senior citizens, whether or not they can continue to go to those senior centers where, not only do they interact with people, but they get the help that they need to take the medications that they have to take every day. It doesn't matter that you're going to put people's lives at risk. The only thing that matters to these guys is that, they make an ideological point. The Constitution of California allows them to do that now. But that's why, the Constitution was also enacted, so that when it didn't work to make the lives of people better, and it didn't work in the best interest of the citizens, constitutions are there to be amended. And that's a piece of the Constitution, in my view, given this reality that we're facing this year in the California legislature, and given the realities of 47 other legislatures across the country, that is a provision in the Constitution, or an amendment of the Constitution of California that needs to change. When that was enacted, I don't think people realized what the real consequences are. I don't think people realized that ultimately you were going to give the power, take it away from the majority, and give it to a very small minority. That's what you did. That's what we did when we enacted that. We got to change that. I believe firmly we got to change that. I'm going to work hard for that.